What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. Well, as you can tell, the pony tears have not stopped falling. It's like, days and days of pony tears. The aftermath has not relented. There's the word. The downpour, the sadness. A lot of these guys are, you call them grifters, or you can call them just trolls. They play a role, but they're not really what they are, or what they portray. And whatever, that's fine. But some sunshine would be nice, pony. So stop crying. Let's play some games. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Gears of War, E-Day, a little bit. Because I was listening to Boomstick's show, and he had King on, he had G-Money, I think, a bunch of other guys. And they were getting into it, and I realized one of the reasons why Gears of War is such a cool property, the way Cliffy B put it together, is that it's not just about the actual, gameplay, which is cool. It was cool for the day. It's still cool today. But how there are so many questions still left, and how it was set up. You start the game 14 years after the war began, and then you realize that there's a war before the war. And so there's so much lore to explore with these wars involving the gears that it's like, yo, I wanna play the Pendulum Wars. I wanna play the beginning of the E-Day, Emergence Day. I want to play all the years in between. I want to see how he met Kim. I forget if he was a sergeant or I don't remember. I want to see all that stuff. I want to see Adam Phoenix, right? That's his pop's name, right? Adam? I don't remember. I want to see him. I think he fought in the Pendulum Wars, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's just a whole lot of lore. And plus, Microsoft, Coalition, whoever's in charge there making decisions, smart. Because they're making a Gears of War movie. I think it's a Netflix movie, but whatever, still a movie. And I'm like, oh, synergy. Transmedia, cross whatever media. And I'm like, okay, so by the time Gears comes out, which should be in 2 years, the Gears of War show might be out. I think they're in pre-production right now for the movie. And so I'm like, yeah, they're gonna try to line it up. That'd be tight. And also, another smart move, going back to before the beginning is a perfect onboarding place for newbies, for casual people who don't know nothing about Gears, don't know nothing about Marcus Phoenix, don't know nothing about Dom, don't know nothing about Anya. Don't know nothing about nothing. Don't know Bird, don't know Baird, don't know Coltrane, don't know nobody. We ain't even going into the kids. This is just the OG. And so, doing E-Day, you introduce all these characters and new characters, backstory stuff, fill in the blanks. There's so much stuff there, and so many things that they can introduce. And I've heard a lot of people want the series to go more back into horror, and I will say that they never left it. It's just people have a selective memory, or they're just not kind of paying attention, because Gears of War, was it the last one? It might have been 5. I think it was 5, where you remember there's they're Lambent, right? But then there's this other kind of, are they the Swarm? I think they're the Swarm. And so they took over these robots, the robots that came down in those hexagonal or whatever, those balls, and they come out and I forget what they're called. And they take over these robots, and you go into this like creepy house, and they're all over the place, and they're just kind of like twitching, and then like it's motion sensitive. So if they get you into motion, if you get caught in the motion and they see you, then they're gonna come get you. But you can sneak up on them and stab them in the core and kill them all. And it's like it's mad creepy. And when that first one with the tripod or the whatever it is. He comes out, goes boom. It has like 3 legs. It goes goosh, goosh, and it flips over, and then the gun pops out. It goes, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, there's some creepy stuff in here. So people say, oh, I want it to be more horror. It is there. There are elements of horror in these games. You just kind of, maybe you overlook them, or maybe they could do a better job of emphasizing it, I think. Or I think maybe it's because you're playing a cog or whatever, and you feel like you're a Superman or a superpowered soldier, so, all those things don't really, I mean, there's another part where you're going down this hall, I think it was at 4, you're going down this hallway, and it's dark, and all you have is your flashlight on your gun, and you see all the little lambent creature, the small white ones, I forgot what they're called, they're not lambent, though, they're running across, and it's water, and they're just like, and it's kind of creepy, and I think there was another, in the first game where you go into this tunnel and it's pitch black and then they're in there too. But anyway, I think it's there, but I agree that maybe they do need to emphasize on how I know that Marcus was just fighting one drone in that trailer, but that kind of exemplifies how one regular enemy from Gears of War could be a menace and could be kind of horrific and scary. Maybe, this is what I was thinking today, what if they do kind of a melee system in Gears E-Day, right? Gears of War E-Day. What if they, like, an additive system, obviously, not just to take away from everything else. Because I know they had the big hammer, I forgot what it was called, but it was a big giant hammer in Gears 5. Because you're playing as Kate, and you go boosh, and it's psh. But I don't remember how she got that hammer. But anyway, I think there's a way to do some like hand-to-hand type, maybe some knife type melee stuff. Implement that into the gameplay. That would be dope. That way you could have that actual fight with the drone in the house, going through walls and stuff. That'd be tight. That'd be super interesting if they could do something like that. But anyway, Gears, what they're doing, going back in time, opens up so many possibilities for the franchise and for people to latch onto it. So now the trick is synergy with the show. Like, I think they want to replicate what happened with Fallout, but this time actually have a game, brand new game to say, yo, come get this Gears game. Only on Xbox and PC, but really only on Xbox. Have a Gears special edition console. Do all the things y'all used to do. I think it could work out. I think they could do that. And since the Coalition, they were working on other stuff. They were working on another game that they don't want to disclose, or they shelved it or whatever. And they went back on Gears. They still have time to, if it's going to be 2 years, if Gears is a launch title for the next gen Xbox, then, and if they take their time with the actual movie and release it same time, then it's all good. Let's go. That's like super synergy. That would be like, I am willing to wait till 2026. I want it tomorrow. I don't care about that. I want it to be good. And I think Xbox is on this kind of path where they're looking at like their lineup is ridiculous. They got games out the woo-wee. And then you look at what Sony got, and they got Horizon Lego and Astrobot. And I'm like, yo, what has happened? How is it that we are in the video game industry of today and the roles have literally reversed? And the only thing that these ponies and donkey unicorns can claim fame or victory or have a W of is, oh, console sales, we still sell them. I'm like, y'all shut up with all those consoles, because that's not making you money. You know why? Because Lego Horizon is launching day and date on the Switch. That's how you know that you need money. I mean, it's dumb to leave it on the table as well, but for all the exclusives, Sony, exclusive. They had exclusive box. They do all these things for exclusives. Not anymore. They're third party. And somebody in my comments mentioned, oh, you're crazy. They're not third party, and they just left it at that. I'm like, yes, they are. I mean, you may think that Horizon Lego isn't a big deal, or you may try to say that, oh, it's a Lego game, not a Sony property. No. When you watch the trailer, what's the first thing that comes up? Not the Lego logo. There's no Lego logo. The Lego logo is probably at the end. You know what comes up? PlayStation Studios. Oops. And granted, a PlayStation Studio didn't actually make it, but guess who's in charge? PlayStation Studios. Who's publishing that game? Actually, I didn't even know. I didn't even look who was. I would assume it's PlayStation. Just saying. Anyway, Gears of War. Now, I mean, that's the smart. It's so smart. And the thing is, it's like, when I first played the first Gears, right, I was like, I like this. This is kind of cool. It was a little weird, like, oh, you're in jail and then you get let out and you're like, you know, just walking your way through the jail and stuff and, you know, whatever. But okay, that's a way to start the game, sure. But you know, it was the main thing that Cliffy emphasized about the game, particularly how it looked. I don't know why I'm having troubles with particularly how it looked, was he had a concept of destroyed beauty. That's what he used to call it, or called it back then. And you know, it was like really cool Gothic or classical architecture and stuff, you know, columns and just ornate you know, buildings, and it's destroyed because of the war. And so I was like, okay, that's cool, yeah. And it I guess it showcased some of the powers or the highlights of the Unreal Engine. Was it 3 at that point? I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was 3, or maybe 2. Might have been. I don't remember. Anyway, and so that was cool. And then, you know, with the different mechanics, the active reload and all the stuff. And I think one thing that stood out was kind of how the blood kind of splattered. Like, you're shooting a locust and the blood's like black, blue. It's all thick and black and red and juicy and bloppy blood. And I was like, yeah, all right. And then you hear the gun like, and it's like, I was like, oh, okay. And I mean, you know, going back to the horror elements, there were the Krill, which is super horror. And then there was the what was that one called? The blind one, the blind female? Was it? It wasn't a creeper. It was not a Grasher. That's our game. Go on Steam, check it out. It was the Gnasher? No, that's the gun. Wow, I'm so close to the name. It's the something But the fact that it was blind and it was a big hulking thing and it was female, and I was like, that don't look fit. It doesn't matter, run. Just gotta dive out the way. It's like that. When that happened, not the Krill. The Krill was like creepy. I was like, all right, the Krill, that's like horror movie stuff and it's creepy. But when you get in that room with homegirl alone and you're like, oh no, it's a blah blah blah. You're like, what? What is that? Oh yeah, you can't see, but. And it was so good. I was like, I compared that moment to the flood moment in Halo, kind of, sort of. But that was cool. And they had something similar in I think it was 4 with the something mother. I can't remember. It was a giant version of the other one, but it was in white and it was in the ice, and you had to freeze the ice. And it's some good horror elements, but like I said, I think like bringing it back, maybe I'm not limiting the guns, because I know this is probably before the chainsaw Lancer, So it's the old school bayonet lancer. So, you know, what a lot of people are saying, what I think as well, is that they're probably gonna either go into like a facility or introduce this new prototype lancer, and it's a chainsaw gun, obviously, chainsaw lancer. And so maybe one of the missions is to go find this new gun, this new prototype, and it's the lancer. And it's like, it's all shiny and stuff. Like, you know, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be like a nice little throwback. And like maybe the last act of the game, you have the lancer and you're just cutting fools in half and stuff. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about like all the different possibilities. You know, I mean, you got Dom, you got Maria. Hello, we know Maria has to be alive, and there has to be something like, oh, yo, the locust broke into my house and Maria's there. Maybe they have a kid. I don't even know. You know, who knows? Got to go rescue my wife. And they're like, yeah, we know she'll be all right. I mean, maybe she'll get hurt or injured, but she ain't going to die right there. Or maybe, I was going to say, they can't do that. I was going to say maybe they kidnap her. Not in this first game. Maybe in the third game. Maybe there's a sextilogy. That right? Septilogy? Sextilogy. Or it's 6 games, so 2 trilogies. Because it's 14 years of the Locust War that happens from E-Day to the first game. It's 14 years, which I just learned. I knew it was a long time, but I didn't know it was that long. So they could, if they wanted to, make 6 games out of this time period, if they wanted to. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, and in one of those games, one of those instances, they could have a thing where Maria gets kidnapped or whatever. Also, another thing that they mentioned in the panel on Boomstick Show, that Gears of War can turn into something like the Halo Master Chief Collection turned into, or I think Call of Duty, not Warzone, but like how the launcher has like a bunch of games in it. And so it could be Gears of War, right? Not E-Day particularly, but it could be Gears of War. E-Day is the jump off, but E-Day's in there. And then they can have an expansion, if you will. Not DLC, but an expansion where they tell a shorter, maybe 5-hour story. Just plop that in there. Boom, there you go. And maybe one of those stories is Maria gets kidnapped or something like that, you know. Well, maybe towards the end, you know. Because she can't be kidnapped for 10 years. That'd be ridiculous. That'd be crazy. Like, how could she live like that? I mean, I know it would take a long time for her to deteriorate. Anyway, sorry. I was like, spoilers for Gears of War 2. I'm like, what? Wait, that was 2, right? I think that was 2. Yeah, I think it was 2, because in 3, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I mean, the episodic kind of, that sounds, I would not be opposed to that. And say, okay, you buy Gears E-Day and the episodes, they're not free, you know, because DLC on Game Pass is not free usually, but you do get a discount. So it's like, all right, so say if it's $30 or $40 for the expansion, then you get it for $35 or whatever the discount is. And I'm like, I mean, it depends on how many hours. Like if it's 5 hours for $35, maybe $30 for like a 5-hour, something like that, you know. And if they kept that cadence, so instead of doing like, oh, we got to do a big game every 5 years or whatever, you know, especially with Unreal is helping this process even go further, and maybe AI tools would help it even further. That'd be cool. Also, they were speaking about how maybe using the Call of Duty model where they have multiple teams working on these Call of Duty games. And so they could do the same thing with Gears with this episodic type of release cadence, these expansions. Someone works on the Maria story. Someone works on a Coal Train story. Someone works on some more Dom stuff or some, you know, just different stuff. But maybe there's an other flip side where there's actually origins of the Locust Queen. I totally forgot her name. Was that supposed to be, what's her name's mom? I don't even remember. But, you know, there's a whole bunch of things because the way that the lore is set up. And the lore is, there's so many different kind of blank spots as far as our knowledge base in the lore that they could fill in with juicy, yummy stories for us. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited about Gears in a way that is different from if it was just a Gear 6. Because Gear 6 is just a continuation of the story of Kate and all that stuff. And that's fine. I want to see the end of that story as well. But this is different. This gives us it's possibility of actually rebooting the franchise in a way. It's not a reboot because the Coalition came out and said this is a main game in the main story of the franchise. It's not a reboot or anything like that, but they could possibly treat it as such because they have a blend. I mean, they're not going to change the lore, obviously, but as far as systems and as far as all those things, they can change some stuff. And at the end of the day, when they get around to Gears of War, the first game, a remake, they're going to use maybe Unreal Engine 6 at that point, and they could implement some of the things that they may have introduced into these newer games, Gears of War, E-Day, and whatever subsequent games after that. So, yeah, I think this is a super smart move for the franchise, and it's like at a perfect time, and it's like it was the icing on the cake. It was the cherry on top. You don't like them cherries. I like real cherries, not them fake ass cherry. And I'm like, yo, this happened so perfectly. They have. Look, if the next Xbox console launches with Gears, Forza, Halo, and Call of Duty or whatever, come on, son. I heard people talking about, yo, this felt like the Xbox 360 is back again and all that stuff. And I'm like, I think Call of Duty has some type of magical power in the game industry. Call of Duty, there's something to it because the last time that happened with Xbox was the 360 when they had Call of Duty. And now they have it for real. And people are saying that again. And that's something that you want. You want people to go and say, oh man, this feels like some of the best time. Like this feels like, insert into this blank, but that blank is the best time for Xbox. The best time for your console company, your console business, basically. That's what people are reminiscing and throwing back to. Man, those people at Xbox must be jumping for joy right now. They must be like, yeah, woo-wee. Man, it's crazy. I told you this is going to be an interesting generation, and it has not disappointed. Not like the state of play. It has not disappointed. This is even more freaking crazy than I would have imagined. I would have never imagined Sony being in the position that they are. Last thing. Jason Schreier. He has said that Sony doesn't have that many games, AAA games, that you guys know from Sony, that Sony's known for, coming up in their slate, in their roadmap, that they really don't have anyway, because they were so invested in those games of service games, and the games of service games, they kind of canceled a bunch of them, like 6 of them, and which is like, okay, now you have to go and make another game and start from scratch. And the games that Sony makes with the level of quality that they try to achieve, it's not going to 3 years. You will hope that it's not going to come out in 3 years. It's going to come out in 5 years, at least, at most, at least 5 years. Or they're going to do that Spider-Man 3 and cut it up into 2 and 3 pieces. So maybe 3 years you'll get the first half of Spider-Man, and then they're still working, and another 2 years you'll get the rest of it. Man, that is ridiculous. Ponies are down bad right now. Ponies are down bad. It's so bad that I see Porter Rock, he's not flipping, but he's saying some negative stuff about Sony. He said something negative about Concord. I mean, I can talk about Concord. I can talk about Frag Punks. I'm looking at Frag Punks. I'm like, why does Frag Punks look 1,000 times better than Concord? Like, what's going on here? What is going on in January? I appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass, like and subscribe. I'm still driving through the Pony Polanco. I'm still driving through the pony tears, as you can tell. I don't know when this deluge of pony tears will stop. Maybe the whole rest of this generation is just gonna be rainy pony tears. I think I'm gonna shout out to Sean. I need to get me some pony tears, because when I start doing podcasts and stuff and real shows, like in an actual place with a green screen and all that stuff, I'm gonna need my pony tears. So I'm gonna shout out. I'm gonna reach out to Sean and I'm gonna see if I can get some. But anyway, preach, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Hit me up in the comments. Catch y'all on the next one. To the weed.